Salam alaikum Dubai, salam alaikum to all the people and namaste from India. My name is Satya. I am a CEO of a company that I had started. And I am about to talk on something which is not related to gender bias, which is not related to problems at the workspace, but which is uniform to both the men and the women. Anyone who starts an industry or anyone who's living a life which is filled with dreams and ambitions. Risk. Risk is a very strange word, but it's a word we use very often in our lives. We take risks at various points in our life. We take risks when we are young, we take risks as we grow up, we take risks in career, and sometimes we fall flat, and sometimes we come up. So this is something which is very close to my heart.